Hey guys, welcome back to the channel once again. In this video today, I want to give you 30 tips that are going to help you navigate your career successfully as a DJ. So let's begin. The first thing that I want to tell you is carry your music with you all the time. You have no idea how useful it can be to have your music with you in a situation when you go out on the weekend to a gig or maybe to a festival or to an after. Somebody's going to come up to you and say, "Hey, do you have your music with you? I don't have one of the DJs that was supposed to play tonight. They didn't show up. So do you want to take that slot?" Or, we're sort of extending the after hours. It would be nice to sort of have you play. So always have your music with you. It's a very, very handy situation because, in a situation where you're offered to play and you say, "Oh, I don't have my music." I mean, that could be like a not so happy thing. So always carry your music with you. The second thing that I want to tell you is record your sets. Record your sets, use one of the apps like the DJM REC on the iOS or whatever else that you find. It's a very good habit and practice to record your sets and keep them archived because you can always revisit them to know how you played at a certain gig, to sort of see through your mistakes, to see through what worked, what didn't work. So it's a very handy habit to record your sets, and also it'll serve you as a way to hand it over for podcasts, for regular mixes, and just general content for you to post. So record your sets. Number three, keep learning. Don't ever stop the learning process. No matter how much you think you know, or if you think you know everything that you need to know for what you're doing, it's fine, it's great. But always try and stay one step ahead of the game. Always try to learn a new skill. Keep yourself updated with technology. It's very important for you to know what's new, what's kind of, the trend out there, what people are sort of using these days. So always keep the learning process on fire. The fourth thing that I want to talk about is talk to your colleagues, talk to other DJs about the setup that they're using, what routines they use, how they manage their music, because you can always sort of find a middle ground between what you do and what other people are doing. You can, of course, have your own way of doing things completely, but never stay completely dark to what your colleagues around are doing. Always talk to them, ask them if they bought a particular piece of gear, how they like it, if it's useful for them, because this also helps you in making all the right decisions when you decide to buy something. So talk to your colleagues, ask them what they are up to. Number five, programming music. By programming music, I don't mean like writing code to generate music. I mean like programming music in terms of a playlist. Now, let's say you have a situation where your friends are going to come home for dinner, and obviously, you don't want to be playing them your techno blasters. So, you want to be playing some music there to set the mood. So, try and learn how to program various moods of music from genres other than that you listen to, from genres other than what you produce or what you play. It's a very good habit. Now, for example, when you walk into a store, right, you hear music being played. All of that music is programmed very meticulously. There is certain music that encourages certain behavior or certain moods in people. So learn about that, study about that, and learn to program music for various situations that does not involve a dance floor. The next thing I want to talk about, number six, is discover new music as often as you can. Look for new music always. As a DJ, I believe that you are the bridge between audience and between new producers. It's your duty as a DJ to introduce new music to your audience, to introduce music to your audience in general. Maybe sometimes it's new, maybe it's not new, but it's very important for you to keep yourself updated and discover music. And also, when I say discover music, I don't necessarily mean new music. Discovering music is about looking for music that you haven't come across or you're not familiar with, which would fit into your set or which would fit with your taste. That's basically what I mean by discovering music. Number seven, start producing music. If you've been a DJ for long enough, like you've been DJing for say like 5 years, 7 years, it's high time that you start producing music because there's only so much you can do as a DJ. Of course, you can still make a very successful career just by being a DJ, no doubt about that. But learning to produce music is going to give you a great perspective on the art form. It's going to teach you so much about the intricacies of music. I guarantee you it will help you become a better DJ. So get on that and start producing music if you already aren't. Number eight, buy music. I cannot stress on how important this is. A lot of you DJs, just rip your tracks off YouTube, rip it off Zippy Share and stuff like that. Trust me, you have no idea what you're doing wrong. When you download music from YouTube, you're downloading horrible quality music that's not fit to be played on a club sound system. And B, when you are pirating music, you're robbing the artists and the labels essentially of their fair share of income. All right, I know you probably have an explanation for this and say, look, I'm not making money right now by playing gigs, so I can't afford to spend. So let me tell you something. You don't make money by, going shopping and buying something for yourself, right? You don't make money by any of that. You do that because you want to present a certain version of you. So it's the same for you as a DJ. It's very important for you to seek and buy music. I'll tell you why. Because a lot of times you will stay ahead of the game when you buy music. I know a lot of DJs who give up on tracks that they can't find for free to download. They say, if I can't find this track, I'm not going to put it in my collection. So you are essentially just going for anything that you get for free instead of chasing quality. And there are a lot of things that will change when you start buying music. Your decision making about what to buy will completely change when you start to know or realize that you've got to pay for it versus when you can just download a torrent with 100 tracks and not even know one of them properly. Number 9 I want to talk about is respect your local promoters, colleagues, and venues. It's very important for you. You may be here in your country or your city. You may be looking at a scene or a country that's far more developed and that could be a lot better. That's where you aim to eventually play one day. But that doesn't mean you should look down on your local scene. Before you break big and go abroad, you've got to go step by step. First, you got to break out in your city. Then you got to break out in your country. Then you're going to be able to break out internationally. So do not diss the local scene. Do not, talk low about people that are in your current scene. Do not, say bad things about what people are doing in your scene. If you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all, right? But basically, make sure that you respect your local scene because that is where your humble start, your humble beginnings are going to be. Number 10, avoid key clashes. There have been times that I've been in a club when DJs are just mixing two tracks that are totally out of tune, right? Now, I'm not advocating that every track should be mixed harmonically or you should just rely on harmonics as a Bible, but you definitely should avoid clashing harmonics, especially if you're playing music that has a lot of vocals, that has a lot of melodies, that has a lot of harmonic content. It sounds terrible, guys. It just sounds terrible when you bring in the vocal of a track over the melody of another track and they are both like just fighting for each other because they're just completely off key. So train your ears instead. It's great to use softwares like Mixed in Key and all of that to do this, but eventually train your ears so that you can hear a key clash, so that you can know that two keys are clashing. Then you can always fix that by choosing other mix points or sort of using your EQ to mask it. But if you don't realize that the keys are clashing, then there's nothing that can help you. Even if Mixed in Key has sort of given you your keys and you think those two tracks are in key because Mixed in Key said so, but if it's clashing, then you don't know about it, right? So train your ears and learn to detect key clashes. Number 11, work on your taste. It's one of the most important things. I've got an entire video about ways that you can improve your taste. You can check that out on the channel, but definitely work towards improving your taste. Things like skill, things like, knowledge, all of that is just going to come along the way. It's going to come as you do more of it. But taste is something that you've got to subconsciously work on. You've got to tell yourself that I want to improve my taste. And that's when you sort of start, opening up yourself to improve your taste. Number 12, don't be a genre basher. It's the most horrible thing to do. Of course, we all like our little sounds. We all like the little sphere of sound that we like. But at the same time, you don't have to be a eat for all buffet. Everyone can, all you can eat buffet where you say, I like everything and anything. That's not a good thing either. It's nice to have your taste. It's nice to be in the domain of what you like, but don't bash other genres because everything that you think is easy to make is not easy to make. Everything that you think is complex is also complex or easy to make. There is no sort of, middle ground over there. So don't be a genre basher. Just embrace what you like and sort of see what you can learn from the other styles of music that could be applicable to what you do. The next thing that I want to talk about, number 13, ratings. Ratings are just overrated. You have all your DJ mag rating, number 1 DJ, number 10 DJ. Come on, guys. I mean, there's no way you can quantify art like that with ratings. So just don't take that ratings bit seriously. Don't look for idols amongst ratings. Look for idols amongst people that really, really speak to you or that make you feel a certain way with their music and their art. Number 14, filter your music as often as you can. No, no, no. I don't mean the low pass, high pass filter on your mixer, where you're going tweaking that every now and then. I mean filter your music collection. It's very important for you to go through your music collection as often as you can and look for tracks that you barely play or you don't play at all and just remove them out, get them out of there. Just put them into another folder called archives or stuff that I don't play often, whatever you like. Just don't mix it up with your collection. It's always good for your collection to have just the best tracks out there. So every time you play something, you're playing something that you're very familiar with, and you know that you're playing something that's going to work. Number 15 is learn to beat match by the ear. This is one of the most essential skills a DJ can have. When you learn to beat match by the ear, you're not depending on any sync button or software to do it for you. Or even if the software messes it up, you know how to fix it. The best way that I recommend for learning beat matching is on a turntable. But if you don't have access to a turntable, you can use your controller, just put your sync off, put your screen off, pick 2 tracks, make sure that you don't know the BPM of these tracks, move the tempo slider elsewhere, and try to match it just by using your ears and not using any visual cue. It's an amazing skill to have. It's also very handy tomorrow if you have to play B2B with someone or you want to jam with another artist and they're using a different setup that you can't quite sync from your setup to theirs, then you will have to rely on being able to beat match manually. So learn that skill. Number 16, be obsessed with music. There is no room here for people that kind of like music or that kind of feel music. If you want to be a DJ, you've got to be obsessed with music. It's no doubt about it. That is the most basic requirement. You need to be obsessed in a way that you are constantly seeking information about the music that you play. You want to know who produced it. You want to know, where the artist is from, what they did before, what this label did, who runs this label. All of that kind of information is obsession with the music. It's very important and it'll teach you a lot of things. You will learn a lot of new names, new labels, new things when you sort of do this research. So make sure you're obsessed with the music. I mean, I can't tell you to make sure. If you're not obsessed with the music, you shouldn't be doing this in the first place, right? Number 17, invest in a good listening setup. It's very important for you to be able to listen to your music properly, to be able to hear all the frequencies, to be able to hear what's going on within the music, right? So make sure you have a good pair of headphones or a good pair of monitors, that you're definitely not listening to your music on shitty Bluetooth speakers, because you're going to be playing this sound or this music in a club, in a sound system that's going to sort of reveal everything that a track has to offer. So make sure that you have a good listening setup where you can identify those tracks that have problems, tracks that don't have a good low end or tracks that are very sharp. So you know that this track can be played or cannot be played, or how you want to tweak your mixer when you do actually play the track. So invest in a good listening setup, guys. I would highly recommend that. Number 18, try and get yourself on promo lists. Promo lists are run by labels. Labels basically send out music to DJs early on before the release so they can sort of play it, support it, and give some exposure to the music. As a DJ, you can get on promo lists. Now, you can look at some of the labels that you sort of play music and support them. Now, reach out to these labels, send them an email, and ask them if they could add you on the promo list. I cannot guarantee that every label will do it, but the ones that do, please support their music, put them in your sets, put them in your charts. So these guys are going to be happy to send you music in the future. And by getting music on promo, you sort of have some exclusivity on music that all people don't have access to. So which could be a very interesting point for people to listen to your mix or podcast, because there's forthcoming music in there. So definitely reach out to some labels that you like and see if you can get on their promo list. Super helpful thing to do. The next thing I want to talk about is learn basic audio terminology. Super important to know what you're talking about. If you're talking to a technician, if you're talking to a sound engineer, you don't want to tell him that pin that's sort of thick, or that wire that's sort of red and white. You want to know what these things are called, know what RCA cables are, know what an XLR is, know what a micro USB, mini USB, or a LAN cable, what all these cables are, or what basic audio terminology is. Now, if the mixing engineer or the sound engineer comes to you and tells you that put your signal down, you're clipping, you got to know what he means by that. He means that your signal is going too hot. So this basic terminology is going to be very helpful for you to have effective communication in the industry. So definitely do that. Number 20, research venues and artists. Look around you, look around in the country, or look at some of the most iconic artists and venues. Do a little research about them, see how they started, where they started, what labels they signed up with, what were the things that they did that made their career successful, or in terms of venues, who runs the venue, what is the aesthetic of the venue, what sound system they have there. So knowing all of this information not only helps you to know more, but it also becomes great conversation starters with your colleagues when you're hanging out, when they're talking about things, because when DJs hang out, that's what they mostly talk about. They talk about venues, they talk about gear, they talk about sound systems, they talk about music. So you want to have some fodder for that conversation, and this is one great place to sort of do that, right? Number 21, history lessons. Visit the history of everything that you like. You like a certain genre or a certain style of music? Do you know why it's called that? Do you know why house music is called house music? And if you play that sound and you didn't know that, shame on you. You've got to go and find out why it's called that, right? So study your history. You're going to understand a lot of important things about the evolution of that music, which you might have missed out on because you got on this bandwagon a little bit late. Find out the history of gear that you use. You're using, for example, a Pioneer CDJ 2000. Do you know how many models of CDJs were there before that? When did the first model of CDJ evolve? This is all great information for you to know. So make sure you know your history about everything that you're doing, everything that you're using. Number 22, understand the business. I can't stress on this enough. How many artists don't understand how the industry works? It's great that you know how the music works, how the DAW works, how the plugin works, but you've got to get a perspective on how this industry itself works. You want to understand what are the different revenue models that clubs work on, what do promoters do, what do booking agents do, what kind of commission they charge, how does a typical club night work. Now, when you have tickets being sold at the door, who splits the money, who puts in the money. So these are some very important things that you should understand as a DJ, so you can tomorrow maybe curate your own events, or you can understand how the scene works, right? So make sure you understand some of the business aspects of it, understand some of the taxation aspects of it as well. A lot of you DJs are missing out on a lot of money that you're earning when tax is deducted at source. So if you know how to sort of claim that money, talk to your chartered accountant. It's super simple. Set up a basic business account for yourself. Make sure you have business registrations like your GST, VAT, whatever. These things can be very, very helpful when you're working with clients and when you're invoicing them. So definitely pay attention to understand a little bit about the business of this industry. The next thing that I want to talk about is make sure that you have your backup on the cloud. That's number 23. Back up your music, your projects, whatever you can on the cloud. I found myself often in situations where I've had multiple backups on hard drives crashed, hard drives lost, hard drives stolen. So it's always a good idea to have maybe about 100, 150 tracks that you often play on a cloud. In a worst case situation, your luggage doesn't show up, your hard disk was in it, your pen drive is not working. So you have a cloud backup where you can just download your music from real quick, put it on a pen drive and be able to play. So make sure you back up your stuff on a cloud. It can be really handy. Number 24, make sure you play appropriately. Super important that you play the right music for the slot and the time given to you. Respect where you're playing, play the right sound, considering who's going to be playing after you. It's very easy to get carried away and be like, okay, it doesn't matter whether I'm opening or whatever set I play, I'm going to just play the music that I want to play. Yeah, it's great that you want to play the music that you want to play, but if you want to get booked again, you want to get booked consistently, you want to make sure that you play the right music for the set and the time that's allotted to you. The next thing, don't be dictated by your local scene or trends. That is number 25. Do not allow your local scene or the local trends to dictate where you want to be. It's great that you have a good local scene, but open up your vision. Don't try to sort of be, that person who says, I'm going to be happy if I'm just great in my city or great in my hood. Have a lot more aspiration than that. You want to get on a level where you say that I want to look at this on an international level. I don't want to just look at this amongst me and my peers around here, right? So make sure that you open yourself up to these sort of aspirations where you look at a bigger picture all the time, and you're not just dictated by your local scene. For example, you may be in a city or in a place where a certain genre of music is very popular, but the kind of music you want to play is different, right? So stick to your guns. You don't have to say that just because my local scene only encourages this kind of music, this is what I'm going to do, right? Open up your aspirations, dream higher. You can definitely do it. Number 26, give it time. Be patient. None of these things are going to happen overnight. Let me tell you that for anyone to be successful as an artist or as an entrepreneur or as somebody that's doing something on their own by themselves, it's going to take you a minimum of 4 to 5 years. Nothing happens in a week, nothing happens in a month. Don't be greedy for gigs. Don't be depressed by the fact that you don't have gigs early on. It's going to take some time. So be patient, give it time. Everything is going to happen in due time. Number 27, be on time. I cannot stress again how important this is. DJs showing up late for gigs, that's the most horrible thing that you can do. It's always advisable that you are at the show at least an hour before your set. If possible, a few hours before your set, so you can do a sound check, you can check the equipment, you can see that everything is as per your requirements. So make sure that you are there at your show at least an hour before, not like 5 minutes before you start playing or whatever, right? The next thing I want to talk about, number 28, have a plan B. Not a plan B for your career, but it's good if you have a plan B for your career as well. But have a plan B always in terms of a performance. You may have planned a certain set, you may have planned a certain set of tracks based on the time told to you, but when you go there and see your set may be changed or it's not what you quite expected. So in a situation like that, you want to have a plan B. You want to know what you can do alternatively from what you planned, right? Now, let's say you were meant to play a closing set at a gig and you had all your biggest bangers on that playlist ready to go. But when you go there, it turns out that the party is shutting early and you have to play an earlier set. So you want to have a plan B in situations like that. So have a plan C, D, E, F, and G. So have a lot of plans. Don't stick to one plan and think everything is going to go according to that. The next thing that I want to talk about, number 29, don't get wasted. Don't get wasted at gigs to a point where you're literally falling off the floor. You literally have to be picked up and taken to your car. Sets a terrible impression on the promoters, sets a terrible impression on the people around, right? So make sure you drink, enjoy, do whatever you like to do, but just don't get wasted. That's the worst thing to do at a gig. Number 30, stay away from the drama. I can't stress how many times I've seen posts by DJs that are about personal things on their social media, and it's super annoying. Nobody wants to see your drama. Nobody wants to see that. It's great if you're standing up for a cause. It's great if you're spreading some awareness about something, but you having some bitterness with somebody or you washing your dirty linen in public on your social media is an absolute no-go. Nobody likes that kind of shit. So stay away from the drama. All right, guys, those were my 30 tips for you to have a great DJ career. I hope you found some of them interesting. I hope you found some of them funny. I hope you found some of them useful. So anyway, if you did that, hit the subscribe button if you like what you heard, and make sure that you catch me in my next video.